Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. I think it was one of the Super Bowl winning coaches, and I can't remember which one it was. Probably one of you all remember this statement. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. Well, everybody thought that was a great statement for somebody to make that won games in order to teach his team the importance of winning. But really, winning isn't everything. It is how you play the game. It is good sportsmanship. And this is really a kind of ethical value we need to teach and demonstrate to our children when it comes to competitions. Now, unfortunately, we know that there are parents who are so into their children winning that they will do anything that is necessary. And we've seen some coaches that will berate a child if they make a bad play or make a mistake in a competition. And you never want something that your child is doing for fun to become so stressful that they become sick and nauseated and full of anxiety because they're afraid they're going to lose. And you never want loss of a competition to be a source of humiliation. You can have even greater humiliation in winning if you didn't win the right way. Now, I'll tell a short story about one of my experiences in coaching. And I love track. I love track and field. And I really loved coaching my track team at Betty Shabazz International Charter School. Had so much fun because I saw so many children blossom. So many that hadn't maybe excelled in the classroom, but they could excel in sports, and it gave them self-esteem. And self-esteem is important. Well, there was one track meet, and the rule was a child could only compete in 4 events in the track meet, just 4. And if they competed in more than that, the team could be disqualified. Well, we had a couple of winning relay teams, and then we had some teams where they could have maybe done better if they had a faster runner. Well, one of our relay teams, 3 of the boys were pretty fast, and they probably could have won, but one of the other players were put on the team, and I wanted to make sure all the children participated. So we were in the track meet, and the track team captain, one of the young boys, he was trying to convince me to let one of the other players run in place of the other runner on their relay team that wasn't as fast. And the player that he wanted to substitute for that particular player was one of the female runners, and she happened to be faster than the boy. And if the rule was, if you didn't have enough boy players for your relay team, you could substitute a girl, provided she had not run the 4 races that were the limit. Well, she'd been in 4 different races already, but they wanted to substitute her for the other boy that would have been on the relay team that wasn't as fast. And they begged me, come on, let her run. They won't notice. Yeah, they might not, but you will know that we're cheating. Even if you win, it really won't be a win because we would be cheating. And so, they were disappointed, but I had the young man, run his race on the relay team. Yeah, they lost, and they were disappointed. But I felt that even if they had won, that would have been a bit of a source of humiliation for the young man to be substituted for a girl so that his team could win. And we would have been cheating. And so I felt that the ethical thing to do would be to have the relay team run with the 4 boys as was scheduled. And however they turned out, that's what happened. And I'm so glad that the girl's mother came up to me later and said, I'm glad you stood your ground, because they really need to learn ethics. They need to learn how to win honestly. So that's one of those decisions you have to make as an adult. Are you really going to push for winning even when it's unethical? Just to say we won the trophy because we got that extra point because we had the winning relay team. These are the kinds of decisions we have to make, and these are the kinds of values we have to demonstrate when it comes to teaching ethics and values to our children. So, ladies, what do you think? How do you teach your children that winning isn't everything? It is important how you play the game.
What an important aspect of helping kids learn how to respond in competition. When my kids were young and were part of a private school, I don't know how they did it, but on the sports teams, they always ended up with a tie score. And so that meant everybody won. And I don't know how the coach fixed it. It would always seem like one was just ahead of the other. But at the end of the game, no matter what it was, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, they always had a tie score. And everybody got a medal or everybody got a trophy. And that was really cool when you're 6. But when you get older, they need to learn the importance of being a good sport in competition. When you win and when you lose, you shake hands with the other team, and everybody goes home, and you're proud of everybody, and everybody gets the pep talk. And I think those are ways that you learn how to be happy and satisfied with yourself, even when you don't win, because you still did your best. Now, I'm going to tell a story about myself as a parent, because there are other things that come into play. Kids respond to how their parents react to them winning or losing, how they interact with the coach or the umpire. Well, a situation happened where my son was on a swim team, and he had jumped in the water when the whistle blew, and he was swimming, and he was almost going to win when the judge blew the whistle, said that my son had jumped in the water too soon, and so now he was disqualified. Now, that really wasn't true. I was very upset, and even John's coach went to the judge and said, you call that wrong. He did not jump in the water too soon. And I was mad enough that I had to call 5 friends, 5, to talk with me. And because I was all about, I need to find that judge's car and let the air out of all the tires. I am telling you, when your child either wins wrongly or is wrongly called or any of those things, a parent can get irate enough to actually act unethically themselves. So I want to have a shout out to the parents of, support your kid, but don't lose your temper.
Okay, we're laughing about Barbara being so foolish, but the thing is that there actually have been parents who have gotten into fistfights, and we actually had someone who died because of this kind of stuff, who was killed over a fight over these things.
Oh
Now,
no.
so when we talk about parents losing control, I mean, I have heard that hockey parents are the worst, but I was a sports writer for most of my career, my early part of my career, and I used to cover high school sports, and I got to know some of the parents, and I had parents who would be calling me at my house to complain about coaching. I had all kinds of things happening when people would come up to me when I was like minding my own business and not actually working, and tell me their sob stories. And I would see how people would act a fool around the referees. And you would think, like, what in the world are you showing your kids? And kids would really be embarrassed about the way their parents were acting. But I also want to talk about teaching your child how to be a good sport, being a gracious winner as well as a gracious loser, because there's nothing worse than a bad winner. When you have to taunt the other team or call them losers, and this is the kind of uh, the atmosphere that we are in right now, where people can't just cheer for their own teams, that they also have to berate the losing team. And that is part of the culture. And it is a culture that we need to stop, both as fans, that we can cheer without booing, especially when you're talking about kids. You should not be booing the other kids if you're watching a kids program. I don't care if they're 6 or if they're 16 or if they're 18 or if they're 22 and in college. You do not need to be booing. This is somebody else's child.
I know.
But the other thing, now Sarah, the only real team sport Sarah did as far as team, and it's still individual, she was a gymnast for, well, she was also a cheerleader and she did other things, but she was a gymnast for 8 years. But one particular year when she was on the competition team, there was one time that she did not make states.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you go on and you compete, and she did not make states. And there are two things that happened that year of competition. One, she had a friend of hers who had a really bad bench, not a bench, the bar routine. And I watched her when the beam, it was the beam. I watched her because her friend had fallen off the beam like 5 times or something. She just had a really bad outcome. And I watched. I was sitting across the gym on the bleachers, and I watched my daughter walk over to her, and that girl must have cried for 5 minutes, and Sarah held her the entire time. And I said to her, I saw you holding her while she was crying. And she said she needed that.
Yeah.
She needed someone to just hold her. And I was so proud of her. And then there was another time I was proud. Sarah made me proud more when she did not win sometimes than when she did. Because there was another time she did not make states, but her friends did. And she said, Mommy, I want to go and cheer them on.
That's good.
We did. We drove, and it was like the middle of the state, and we got up early in the morning. We spent the weekend. I got a hotel room. The kids all ended up sleeping with me. I don't know why they all ended up in my room. But, I got up and I did all their hair and everything. And Sarah did not compete.
Yeah.
But we were there for her teammates. Now, she could have been sulky and said, well, if I'm not, competing, I don't want to go. But I was so proud of her for understanding, okay, this isn't my time, but it's their time, and I want to share this with them.
And that's support. That's a lot to them too.
Yes, and this is the thing about competition. It's supposed to be fun, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's not. But you have to learn to be happy for other people. I have watched Sarah, and I know I brag on her all the time because she actually hung the moon. But I have watched her when other people have won things, and her being happier for the person who won than she would have if she had won. It's just like, oh, this is my friend. I'm so happy she won that scholarship or whatever it was. And that's who we want our kids to be. I don't want our kids to say happiness only belongs to me when I win, and the rest of the time I'm going to sit in the corner and be mad.
And I think it is important to help kids learn how to get over disappointments. I remember the year that my son and his chess team actually won to go to state. And we were so excited for them. This is the first time the school had ever done that well in chess. And what happened, though, the actual tournament was happening the week of the Illinois State, what is that academic testing. And none of the teachers wanted to go with the team to the competition because they didn't want parents to be upset with the teacher being gone, especially if their kids didn't do well on the testing. They felt like if their teacher wasn't there, their kids were at risk of not doing well. And so the big disappointment was my son and his team did not get to play in the all-state chess tournament. I was more disappointed because I was one of the parents that was going to go on the trip, but you had to have one of the actual teachers there. And they got of course, they got a big trophy for, the city the winning in the city, but they weren't allowed to go on to the next big one. And they were promised, of course, you can try again next year, but next year that didn't happen. And my son actually had other interests. So I think even in dealing with disappointment, sometimes the parents have to learn how to deal with disappointment as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, because we're always modeling for our children. They watch and see how we handle things. And it is important to have empathy for all the children who compete. I mean, there was a bit extreme about the coach always make sure that there was a tie, so nobody won. I get what they were trying to do, and of course,
Yes.
But
I've known coaches who do that. They give every time somebody scored. This happened when I was first starting out, and the coach, a coach said to me, "Oh, every time somebody scored, no matter who it was, I gave a point to each team, so they always came out as a tie." Let's all go get ice cream afterward, and call it a day.
Yeah, and I want it to be fun,
and that's fine when they're little. You know what? I don't mind participation trophies.
Yeah.
But life isn't a participation trophy. So as they get older, we need to say, well, no, everybody doesn't get a trophy, but you do get to, compete. And then you can see that sometimes you're going to be better than somebody. Sometimes you're going to be, worse than somebody. But it's all okay, because competition doesn't always have to be a zero-sum game. And this is the thing, is that we've turned everything from politics to jobs to everything else to either you're a winner or you're a loser. And that is not the way to deal with that, because a lot of times we're just all on the same team.
Right. Right. And that's important.
And everybody wins because everybody does their best.
Everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to have at the end of the year, and you're giving out all the trophies, have a participation trophy, have some kind of recognition for everybody who was on the team, and then going to do something special for people who maybe, were outstanding. That's okay. But effort should be rewarded. And when I used to go and watch Zakia in track, or she was in track, she was in soccer, she was in basketball and grammar school, and she'd be happy if she scored. Hey, if the team lost, oh, that's okay, I made a score, so I'm happy, and that's fine. I think the whole thing is to enjoy what you do, and when we go and cheer our children on, cheer them on and make them feel happy. And, it should be a memory that they look back on with joy. It should never be a painful memory where they remember where you were hollering at them because they lost, or, they missed the catch or missed the kick or whatever thing it was, or fell off the balance. I mean, it should never be a thing where they have in their minds this memory of sadness and shame because they didn't do well. It should always be. And that was really good that Sarah was comforting to her friend, because that's the thing that you remember. My friend was there for me when I felt bad. So that overrides even the feeling of I didn't do well. It's like my friend showed me love. People care about me. And that can make you feel better, so that you don't carry around that feeling of sadness because you lost something. You feel joy because your friends are there for your support. And that's what we should always be teaching our children. Be there for your friends, cheer them on. If you're competing with your friend, after the competition is over, still be friends,
Yes.
And don't forget, if you're a parent and you're watching kids, they're all kids. You don't have to bully the other kids. You're all, or I used to have some friends that used to go to because I was in a town where the big thing was the high school teams. Mm-hmm. But I would say, oh, they're not playing. Your kids aren't playing. And one of my friends, her name was Linda Moon, God rest her soul. And she says, well, we just like kids. Mm. And so they would go and they would just go to every game, and they would say, "Oh, wasn't that a good game?" Now, sometimes they lost, but you say, "Oh, but wasn't that a good game?" Yeah, it's
Yeah,
and
that's the whole thing.
if it's not something they're doing for profession, it's a game.
Yes.
It's a game.
And this goes without saying, support your kids and go to their games. Don't be too
Yes.
busy.
Yes.
I mean, my son had a teammate who all 4 years of high school, his parents never came. I'm not exaggerating. They never came to one game. And their son was one of the star swimmers who won awards and everything. And his parents never came.
I've seen that, and that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's hard. It's hard though, because to be fair, there are some people, if you're working 2 and 3 jobs, or you're a single parent or something, sometimes you can't. But sometimes it's worth it just to take a day and say, okay, I may not make all of them, but I'm going to make this one.
Yeah.
And if the president of the United States can sneak away to get to his children's games, anybody can find a way to take time out from a busy job and see their children. I think when he said he did that, I mean, that
your heart goes out to him. That's father.
Yes, fatherhood. Because this job as president, yeah, it's important, but it's going to be over, max 8 years. Those children are going to be your children for the rest of their lives, and they need to know that they come first, no matter what job you have. But I'm not judging parents who couldn't show up. I do understand it's hard, but I knew of someone as well, and I watched that person be a very top player on their team, and their parent never show up, and it broke my heart, because I don't think their parents really understood how their absence had an impact, because it does say to the child, I'm not important enough. And I think if you're in a position where you're with your children and you notice that there's a parent that isn't able to be there, you might want to just kind of fill in a little bit if you can, take the team out for pizza, whatever, afterwards. Make that child feel like they had a parent there, even if they didn't. However we can, because
yes, I did that. Oh, because
yes,
Sarah,
and I've done that.
I've done that.
And we had another parent who routinely did that for the whole team.
Yeah.
I used to go and cheer for when Sarah went to Boston Latin Academy. I used to go cheer for the track team. Now Sarah's just way too lazy to be running any track, so she was not on any track team. She was, she wasn't doing anybody's track, But you know what? She had friends who would go, and so I went, and I would tell the guys, because these were the kids that she hung out with, and sometimes they showed up at my house. I said, is your mom here? And they said, no, she had to work. I said, okay, well, I'm your mom today. And I would be cheering and acting a fool up there. That they'd heard me yelling when they were running, because you know what? They needed to know that somebody's mom was there.
Yeah, that matters. That does matter. Well, I think it is important that if our children choose to, whatever sport or activity they choose to compete in, it's important for them to know we care. But it's also important for them to know that we love them whether they win or lose. And it's important for them to see us respond appropriately if they do lose, so that they can see what a good sportsmanship looks like, and they can follow suit with that kind of behavior throughout the rest of their lives, whatever arena they're in.
That carries through all across the board.
Yes, it does.
Yes. So don't let any air out of any tires. or get into a fist fight or any of those kind of things. It's a game.
Or falling out with the umpire. I remember this one episode on Andy Griffin where he was the coach and Opie was running, and and Andy
he was the umpire.
Out. Yeah.
And Helen actually had a picture of the part where he went across the plate, and he really had been safe. But I think Howard Sprang had written an article in the newspaper about supporting the umpire, supporting the coach, and everybody was so convicted. Yeah, the umpire. And everyone was so convicted that they all.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that she never showed the picture. She
Right.
because
she goes, oh, he was safe.
Nope, you tear it up, you know.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
that they would respect the umpire.
Right. And those are the kind of ethics we want to show our children, even if we disagree with the call. And it is hard because umpires are just people too. And so
safe.
So yeah, we do have to we have to show, part of good sportsmanship is showing respect for the officials that are managing the game. You know, even if we disagree, we have to show respect because that's what we want to show our children. Well, we gotta go, but we thank you all for being with us today. And of course, we want you all to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, 3 Black Moms. And we also want you to contact us on Twitter, our blog, Instagram, and make sure you leave your comments. Let us know what you may have experienced in terms of your children's competition, and maybe some ways you helped your children learn good sportsmanship. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We're 3 Black Moms.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.